The legend of Ahmose, the pharaoh who defeated the Hyksos. The legend of Ahmose, the pharaoh who defeated the invaders. The sun blazed over the golden sands of Egypt, casting long shadows over a land once ruled by mighty pharaohs. But now, the land of the Nile lay in the grip of foreign invaders. The Hyksos, warriors from distant lands who had seized Egypt's throne. For nearly a century, they ruled from their capital, Avaris, bringing with them war chariots, iron weapons, and armies unlike anything Egypt had seen before. They crushed those who resisted and forced the Egyptian people into submission. But deep in the south, in Thebes, a new warrior was rising. His name was Ahmose, the last prince of a royal bloodline that had sworn to reclaim Egypt. His father, Seqenenretau, had fought against the Hyksos but had been killed in battle, his skull split by enemy weapons. His brother, Ahmose, had continued the war, striking deep into enemy territory, but he too was cut down before he could finish the fight. Now the responsibility fell to Ahmose, just a boy when the war began. But as he grew, so did his hatred for the invaders. He trained harder than any warrior, mastering the very weapons that had once been used to conquer his land. He learned the ways of the chariot, the art of swordsmanship, and the tactics of war. By the time he became a man, Ahmose was ready. The first strike. With a mighty army behind him, Ahmose led his warriors north, marching toward the Hyksos strongholds. The first battle took place on the open plains near Nekhen, where the Hyksos sent their feared chariots to crush the Egyptian resistance. The ground shook under the thunder of hooves, dust rising into the sky as the enemy surged forward. The Hyksos archers, mounted on fast-moving chariots, loosed deadly volleys of arrows. But Ahmose was prepared. He had trained his soldiers to counter the chariots, ordering them to dig trenches and set hidden traps. As the enemy charged, their wheels were caught in the pits, their horses stumbling and falling. The Egyptians rushed in, spears flashing in the sun, cutting down the trapped warriors. Ahmose himself rode at the front, his sword slicing through enemy ranks, his shield deflecting arrows as he fought his way toward the Hyksos general. With a swift strike, he cut the enemy commander down, sending their forces into chaos. The first victory was his. But the war had only just begun. The Siege of Avaris. With every battle, Ahmose reclaimed more of Egypt, pushing the invaders back toward their final stronghold, Avaris, the city where they had ruled for nearly 100 years. But the Hyksos were not ready to surrender. As Ahmose's army approached the walls of Avaris, they found a fortress heavily defended, its gates sealed, its walls lined with archers ready to rain death upon any who dared to approach. Ahmose knew he could not take the city by brute force alone. Instead, he set a trap of his own. He ordered his army to cut off all supplies to the city, blocking the roads and controlling the waters of the Nile. Days turned into weeks, and inside Avaris, the enemy began to starve. Desperate, the Hyksos made a bold move. One night, under the cover of darkness, they launched a surprise attack, hoping to break the siege. But Ahmose was waiting for them. As the enemy poured out of the gates, he sprung his ambush. Hidden archers rained arrows down upon the Hyksos, while Egyptian warriors charged from both sides, trapping the invaders in a deadly crossfire. The battle was brutal and bloody. The streets ran red as Ahmose's forces stormed into Avaris, cutting down any who resisted. The once powerful Hyksos, who had ruled Egypt for generations, were now fleeing in terror, their empire crumbling around them. With one final charge, Ahmose himself led the assault on the palace, his sword flashing like lightning as he fought his way through the enemy's last defenses. The battle raged from chamber to chamber, the clash of steel echoing through the halls. And then, at last, Ahmose stood victorious. The invaders had been driven from Egypt. The war was over. The birth of a new Egypt. But Ahmose was not just a warrior. He was a builder, a ruler, a true pharaoh. With the Hyksos gone, he turned to rebuilding his shattered kingdom. He restored temples, rebuilt cities, and strengthened the Egyptian army, ensuring that no foreign power would ever conquer the land again. And he did not stop at Egypt's borders. he chased the fleeing Hyksos into the deserts of Canaan, making sure they would never return. He led campaigns into Nubia and the Levant, expanding Egypt's influence and securing its place as the most powerful kingdom in the world. Under his rule, Egypt entered a new golden age, the New Kingdom, where pharaohs ruled with strength, the gods were honored, and the empire flourished like never before. And so, Ahmose's name was carved into history, his victories etched into the stone of temples, his story told for generations to come. He was not just a king. He was the liberator of Egypt, the warrior who ended an occupation, the man who reclaimed the throne and restored the might of the pharaohs. And so, the sands of time whisper his legend forever. Ahmose, the pharaoh who freed Egypt. The end.